Hi there, Carolyn Dunn from Dunn Reimagined Designs. I'd like to welcome you to Module 8, where we will be going over design elements. We're going to get right into it because there's lots to cover. Let's start with Fuchsia Pop. And what I want to do here in this first one is I just want to get you used to creating circles around your center dot. So let's start with north, south, east, and west. I'm using the small end of the 1mm tool, and then let's go in between those midway. And then let's go in between each one of those. And we're just practicing symmetry, creating dots that are similar in size and making them even all the way around. So this is a good way to start with the north, south, east, west thing. Okay, that worked out nicely. So now we want to get another row around that. We'll go in with the purple. Maybe we'll take the 0.5mm tool for this one. And we're just going in between the two dots ahead of it. And this is just really great practice for starting off with your, from your center point, and you'll be doing circles around it. Okay, and we'll go in with another color. Let's go in with this light Bahama blue, and I'm going to move up to the 1mm tool. And again, you're in between the two previous dots. Now for portions of some of this module, I will speed it up a bit, but for the most part I don't want to, because I want you to have real-time practice. So we could have gone in with the next size up with the 2mm tool for that, or you could go in now with your next color, and we'll take the 2mm tool and let's You could even do the 2.5mm tool. I'm just putting lots of paint on here. And then I'm going to drag that in between with the fine tip tool. There, and that gives a nice, pretty little pattern. On this one here, I wanted you to get used to doing an outline. We'll use our 0.5mm tool, and we're just going to single dot. Okay, we missed number 3. We'll catch up on it later. And in this one, I have just created a flower with some petals, and I'm just showing you how you can really beautify this by putting little white dots in between the outer row of dots. I love that look. So you've created your flower and your petals, and then at the end there, you'll place tiny little dots. Let's create a swoosh here in the purple with a 3mm tool. Okay, so I'm making a big dot. I'm going to turn it around and use the small end to drag that swoosh down. Then I want to go in with my 0.5mm tool, and I want to do some dotting around that swoosh. Next I'll go in with another color, create another dot, and do the same thing. Now I'll probably move up to the 1mm tool, and we'll go in with this color. And then we'll move up one more size to the 2mm tool and bring that pink down. And you can do as many rows of this as you want. Okay, how pretty is that? And then you could always swoosh up on either side if you wanted to. Okay, we're in number 6 here. Okay, now we're going to make a flower. I've got the 6mm tool. I'm just taking some of my paint here and I'm placing a dot in the center, one above. And you can do this with any size tool. One below, one beside it, and on the left side. Now I'm taking my fine tip tool, and it's best, of course, to wait for it to dry. And place little dots in between. And I am going to let that dry, and then we'll go back and show you how to top dot it so that it looks a little bit like a pansy. Okay, in number 7, we are going to create our little trio of swooshes. I traced this circle in beforehand using the 1 1/8 inch circle template and just doing the half circle. Not even a trio, more than a trio, okay? We'll take our fine tip tool. We're gonna drag one down, drag another one down, drag another one down. Okay, so we've got our swooshes there. Now I want to dot around it, and I'll start with the 0.5mm tool, starting with the desert turquoise. And I'm just coming up a little bit there, and then I'm going to come right back down, single dot, walk, 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 single dot, and I'm just keeping them on that line. Now I'll go in with the 1mm tool and come up here, and I'm coming up a little bit higher. Single dot, 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 single dot, single dot, 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 dot. And now let's go in with the 2mm tool. Yeah, and again, I'm coming across from there and across from there. Dot, 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 dot. Okay, and you can continue on as far as you want. So that's a nice, pretty little element. Another one I'm going to do with the Nuvo drops. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I'm just going to drag that one up. And drag this one up. Drag this one up. And drag this one up. Okay, then we'll come back and we'll finish that one off. So I'm going to make a 6mm flower base here. We'll use the 0.5mm tool and place a dot above. Then I'm going to create another dot above that. And I'm going to swoosh down on either side. Okay. And the 1mm tool, and I'm going to create 2 dots. And a third. Okay, and I'm going to swoosh down alongside this one here. Okay, and then I'm going to take the same tool and I'm going to create a swoosh here. Maybe some purple, and we'll come down a little bit lower here. And then maybe I'll go in with the 0.5 and some white. Another one to add to your portfolio. We've placed an 8mm flower base, and our uppermost dot is with the 2mm tool. And then I'm going to go in with the 0.5mm tool and create a swoosh, trying to get as close as without touching flower base. Using the 2mm tool, we'll create another uppermost dot and swoosh down with the same tool. Mandalas have a lot of very common elements, but you can see you can tweak each one to make it unique. Using the same tool, we'll grab some pink here, but we're going to come out a little bit further away from it and a little lower down, and then swoosh down. And now we'll go in with some purple. Show you my feather pattern. Okay, so I've created this line down, and then I don't want a ton of paint on here because I just want to bring out little feathers. Okay, simple like that. Okay, we're using the 6mm tool and we're just creating some dots in this space. Now I'm leaving quite a distance between them, and you can get them closer as you get better with it. And now we'll place little dots in between. Okay, just another pattern. Okay, let's place a 6mm flower base here. And in this case, I'm going to go in with the 2mm tool to create my uppermost dot. Nice big dot. And then I'm going to use the 0.5mm tool to walk that down. This is just another look. So in this case, you have that big uppermost dot and then smaller dots running down. So now I'll take the 2.5mm tool and go in with this nice big plump dot, and I'll go back in with the 0.5mm tool. I'm just giving you a lot of different ideas on how to create your flowers and give them different looks, okay? And here's another one. Flower base, 6mm, 0.5mm tool, and just walking some dots down either side here. Now we'll take the 0.5 millimeter tool again, and we're going to bring a swoosh up. Okay, then let's create a nice big uppermost dot in the purple, and then we'll walk those dots down with the 1 millimeter tool. And then we'll take our 2.5 millimeter tool and our nice paint here, and we'll take the 2 millimeter tool and let's drag that swoosh down. Get lots of paint on there. You're coming close to those dots but not touching them. And if you have a distance to go, you may have to push that paint a little bit and then drag it down. And please don't ever hesitate to go back in over your swoosh if you need to beef it up a bit. There's no shame in that. And again, it's the end result that makes the difference. Number 16, I call these my curly cues. And I'll just take the fine tip tool, dip it in the paint, and I just trace along these lines. Now, you'll only get so far, obviously. So when you go back in to add more paint, start very gently on top so that they blend together, and then you can press down and move forward, okay? And if you need to go in later and tidy up rough edges, that's what your base coat paint is for. Okay, lettering. I lay out my line on the back of my piece because I always sign the back. I don't have great penmanship, but I go with it. So I lay out my line and have it oriented so that when it hangs, it will hang right. I create 0.5 centimeter increments, and then I just use my fine tip tool, some gold paint, and I just center it. So if I'm doing the word serenity, I'll have 8 letters, so 4 on one side and 4 on the other, just that way. Okay, we're back at number 6, and we're using the 3 millimeter tool to place these top dots. And you see we're placing them closer to the center, not in the center of these dots until we get to the center dot. Okay, and then we will go back and top dot that again. It's a really nice look. Just barely made it into view. Okay, on to number 18. We're going to do some hearts. Okay, we'll start with the 6 millimeter tool. And when you're making a heart, all you do is make 2 dots next to each other. And then you take your fine detailing tool and you just bring them down to a point. A little bit more paint in there. Okay, easy peasy, right? And you can do that with whatever size tool you want. Let's do it with the 3 millimeter tool. It's a great way to make consistent size hearts. Let's go down even to the 2 millimeter tool. Next thing we're going to do is practice doing dots in a circle, because that's predominantly how you're going to do them. Okay, I'm just starting with the smallest clear rod here, and we want to create dots along this row. You want to keep them in that space, keep them as close together as you can without bleeding into one another. And this is great practice because you'll be doing a lot of this kind of work around your piece. Okay, so now we'll move up to the mid-size, the 4mm rod. And now we're going in with this darker blue. And you can start wherever you like. Just remember that your dots are going to be in between the ones above. I hope you're practicing along with me. Now I have sped this up a little bit just due to time constraints, okay? Okay, and then we'll move up to the largest of the clear rods, and that's the 5mm rod. Doesn't matter what size tools you use, just practice getting those dots in the proper space. Okay, number 20. I have a 16 segment wheel here, and we're going to put the rainbow colors in. What you're doing, once you've created that circle and divided it into those segments, you're going to take your 0.5mm tool, and that circle is about 1.5 inches. So we're going to take one segment, we're going to get our paint in there, and we're going to drag towards center. And we're going to go opposite that, put our paint in there, and drag towards center. And I might just take my fine tip tool here and just fill out that one. Changing colors, so let's do yellow next. Now you can make them bigger so that they come right together, or you can leave a negative space between them. Whatever look you're going for. I've used these patterns on both the guitar that I refinished and the Serenity piece. Okay, when that dries, we'll put a dot in the middle. Let's go back up to number 8 here, and let's place a nice dot above that in the green. Okay, so you can see how that can be a nice element to add as well. I wanted to take some of that blue and create the last of our flower here. And I'm using the 2.5mm tool, and we're not in center, we're coming towards that center dot, okay? So, isn't that pretty? For this shape here, I would just take my 3mm tool, and you're just loading it with paint, okay? And once you get paint loaded in there, you're going to take that fine detailing tool and define your edges, okay? And if you need more paint in there, absolutely add more paint. You've got the load of paint in there, you're defining your edges. And then make sure that your edges don't have less paint than the inside. You want to just beef that up along the edges so everything is plumpy. So that's how you fill in a spot. Okay, now let's go back to 21 here. We're going in with our rainbow colors. We'll start by placing our flower base in true red with the 8mm tool. And then we're going to take our 2mm tool to place that first dot. the uppermost dot. Then I'm going to walk it down with the 0.5 millimeter tool. And now I'm going to take my yellow 2 millimeter tool. I'm going to create a yellow uppermost dot. And then I'm going to swoosh down with my 1 millimeter tool. Now we'll take the green, and I'm going to take the 2.5 millimeter tool, and I'm going to create 2 dots, and then a third. Beef that one up just a bit there. I'm going to move up to the 2 millimeter tool for our swooshing. Again, anytime you get a little rough spot, you can just always go in and fix that up. Now we'll go in with our ocean blue, and we're just going to come down just a little bit here. And then let's get some purple in there. And we forgot pink. That's a really pretty little look. I've got a bit of a bleed there where I got a little bit too close, so watch for that pitfall. 22, still using these rainbow colors. And I've got the 2.5 millimeter tool, and then I'll use the small end to drag that swoosh down. Then we'll go in with orange, and we're coming down just a little bit there. Switch to the other end. Yellow is next, following our rainbow theme. Green. I'm going to take the fine tip tool now to get those green ones up. Just taking the small end of this tool. Going to place a tiny dot there and a tiny dot there. Okay, and you could place a round purple dot there or just have it come flat against your line. In this section here, I wanted to go through our swooshing. So we'll use the 2 millimeter tool, and let's just practice getting some swooshes in. So we'll start right here. Now let's go the other way. And you will practice getting them closer and closer without touching. Number 24, going to place a swoosh using a 3 millimeter tool, and we'll turn that tool around to drag it. And then we're going to do some dotting around that swoosh and a little bit of swooshing. Now let's go in with Sea Breeze. 0.5 millimeter tool, just creating my uppermost dot, and then I'm just going to walk those dots down. Next we'll go in with this mermaid tail. I'm going to do single dots here, and then I'm going to walk them down. Now I'm going to go in with some white. I'm going to go up to this 1 millimeter tool, dot, 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 and then we'll walk some dots. Then you could come back in with a larger tool and do a swoosh around the side of that. Oh, let's do it in yellow. Why not? So I'll take my swoosh here. I'm going to need more paint. And I don't get all the way down, so I'm going to just switch to the small end of my tool. Again, as I always say, touch it up if it needs touching up. Okay, 25. Let's create a nice flower base here. Okay, let's start with the white. We'll take the 0.5 millimeter tool and we'll just walk some dots around it. Move up a tool size and we'll go to the 1 millimeter tool. We'll move up a size again. We're getting lots of good practice walking the dots here. And I think we're going to go one more row. Purple, 2.5 millimeter tool. Take the 2 millimeter tool to walk those down. Okay, and then we'll take our 3 millimeter tool and maybe in this nice pink, we'll put in some swooshes. I'm going to drag that down. Anybody know what the problem is? The problem is my paint is too thick. And I knew that and I got lazy. And this is why you can't be lazy. So let's see how this side goes with the better consistency of paint. That just glides so nicely now. Okay, that is actually, it was a very good exercise to show you just the difference when you have the right consistency of paint. Yeah, another nice element, just a little different. Okay, we're working on 26 here, and we're just going to place a flower base here with the 8 millimeter tool. Then we'll take our 2.5 millimeter tool, and we're going to place our uppermost dot. I'm going to take the small end of that tool to walk those dots down. Okay, and now we'll get into some swooshing. I'm going to take the 2 millimeter tool and I'm going to take some of that beautiful desert turquoise, and I'm starting from right there at the line. Got our first swoosh in. Now we'll go in with this lovely purple cow. Okay, so now we'll go in with this lavender. Now we'll come lower. Next I'll come in with my pink. So now I'm going to go in with the 1mm tool, and we're just single walking these dots. And I'm just trying to show you different design patterns that you can use in your mandalas. Now I have sped this up a bit, but please feel free to pause anytime you need to. Just another look, another pattern. 27. 27, I'm going to need my pink tourmaline paint. I'll use this tool here. Okay, so I'm starting with a dot, lots of paint, switching to the small end to drag that down. Another dot, small end to drag that down. We'll do one more. Now let's take some of this beautiful, dazzling metallics teal. Take my 2.5mm tool, and I'm just coming straight above that dot there. Single dotting. So I'm going to come just a little bit higher with a bigger dot, and then I'm going to carry on with my single regular size dots. And lastly, I'm going to go in with some white. I really want to make that sort of a little bit bigger than those ones. There, isn't that pretty? I really like that. So now we're moving on to random dots. And random dots are meant for filling up spaces or shapes with random size dots. And you'll always start with your bigger dots first. So yeah, you start with your bigger dots, and then you're going to fill in with smaller dots. And you can make whatever size dots you want to make with your single tool, but you can use other tools to fill in, right? Now, what I generally would advise to do is get those big dots in and then let it dry, and then go in with your smaller dots. So what can you use for your smaller dots? You've got the small end of your 1mm tool. You do have this fine tip tool. I mean, whatever you can find that's smaller, but even your 0.5mm tool is good for getting in smaller dots. A toothpick works great. This one I'll probably speed up, guys, just because it might be like watching paint dry or grass grow. And what it does is it just ends up giving you this nice filled in shape that looks pebbly in nature. And what I often do is I'll come back, I do just a medium-sized dot, let that dry, come back, and I just keep filling in until there's no more space to get dots in. You can also blend two different shades of a color, or any colors for that matter, just by taking some of the darker dots towards that right hand side and pulling some of the lighter dots we'll put in towards the middle. And it's just a beautiful look. I'm not going to put you through the whole thing, but I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Okay, so you can see how that gradually blends into the other color there. Okay, I'm quickly adding in a couple of flowers here. Okay, so now we have our flowers. What are we going to do in between? Often I will put swooshes in between. Let's start with our 2.5 millimeter tool and this beautiful teal for our center swoosh. I'm going to start about there. Okay, and I'm taking the small end of the tool here, take that swoosh down. Okay, and we'll go in with another swoosh. I guess we'll finish it off with this purple here. Okay, so then we've got swooshes in between our two flowers, and we can do that all the way around. Okay, the next thing I want to do is alternating swooshes. We did it before in the last module, but in this module I want to do it on the curve, because that's basically how you're going to be doing it on a mandala. So you know me, I always suggest as a beginner that you measure out your segments for your alternating swooshes. I do 0.5 centimeter segments, and that's great for the 0.5 millimeter tool. And our lines are always going towards center, eh? Okay, so we have our guidelines, and for this template to use, it's the 0.5 millimeter tool. Let's work with the desert turquoise and the Indian turquoise. So we'll start with desert turquoise, and what I like to do is I go on the lines first. So I just tap and drag, tap and drag, tap and drag. I won't say it every time, I promise. You want to make it to your destination line. Then we would wait for that to dry before going in with our other swooshes. And we're just going in the space between. We're starting at that line, and then we're just dragging down the center. Ease up on your pressure as you're dragging down. If you have one that doesn't behave, make it behave. And sometimes you'll start it off like that. You'll tap a couple of times. You'll get to know, you'll get the feeling of how much paint is on there. I have to wipe my tool off because it's built up with too much paint. Okay, really pretty. Okay, so that makes a beautiful pattern separator. Now this is a mirror. We're going to paint it in like it's a mirror. Just that easy. Same with this one. I won't paint it in yet, or I'll get my hand in it for sure. Okay, we'll start with a row of dots. We'll use our 0.5 millimeter tool, and let's use this beautiful paint here. So single dots. Now we'll go in with the teal. We'll move up to the 2 millimeter tool, and we will walk these dots down. Step them down one by one. and then we'll walk the dots. Okay, and now we're going to do some swooshing around them. Take the 2.5 millimeter tool. I'm going to take some of this beautiful purple cow. Now, I probably won't get all the way around, so I'm going to go part way. Load up with more paint, just start it up here a bit. Starting at the same point here, loading up with paint. Bit more paint. Okay. Now we'll go in with our lavender. Okay, and we're going to come down to, about the top of that diamond, a little bit above the top of that diamond shape. Again, same thing. Now let's come in with that nice teal, and I'm coming just here, lots of paint. Switch to the small end, come back here a bit. Your technique doesn't have to be perfect. You have to know what to do to get to the look that you want in the end. Small end. And then you could take a nice plumpy dot there where they meet. Okay, just again, another idea. In this one, we're going to go back to our rainbow colors. Start with the red, and we're just going to come alongside there. It's a long swoosh, so you're going to need lots of paint. Then we're going to go in with our orange. Now, obviously, let that dry a bit first. Let's see what happens. We're coming down a little bit. Yellow is next. And we'll come up a little bit lower there. Time for green. It's time for green. And then blue. And then purple. And then we're going to place a white dot above all of that. I love that. Now obviously, if your dot's going to be hitting the line, your whole thing will have to shift down a bit, okay? But just to give you some ideas here, guys, I just wanted to give you some opportunities to see different ways to make different patterns, and you can start putting these all together, creating your own to really get some beautiful creative mandalas here. This is an example of a piece that I worked on that incorporated a lot of the design elements that we talked about today. Just wanted to add in this little bit about stencils. There are a lot of different stencils out there, and I have used, for instance, this on the guitar that I did, and I used this. I've used this. That was all on the guitar that I did. If you want some printing on your piece, you can just use a stencil. When I'm printing on the back, I generally just freehand it when I'm signing my piece or naming it. I wanted to show you this because on my piece that I did called Butterflies and Bubblegum, what I did was I just found some free clip art, and before printing it I reduced it to the size I would need. It took a little bit of trial and error, but then I got the size that I needed, and then I cut that all out and used that around my piece to trace the butterflies. So there are a lot of different stencils out there you might find handy. These are a few of my pieces that you can see some of the design elements that we've talked about during this module. Okay, that was a long one, but I hope you found it helpful. We covered a lot of design elements and a lot of things that you can practice, use your imagination, but it gives you the idea, and that's what I want for you. I want for you to starting place. We're going to get there. Next module is all about mistakes and how to fix them. I hope you'll join me. Please remember 2 things. 1, I'm grateful for your support, and 2, keep on dotting. You won't regret it. Bye-bye for now.